Hello, I'm Dr. Pierre Simon. Wonderful being back with you. We've been talking about the Jezebel narcissist and how to identify the narcissist in your life. Today, we're in part 2 of Feigning Ignorance. Remember that at New Horizons Institute of Counseling, we are for healing peace and harmony in helping you with whatever the situation is, whatever issues may be going on, or sometimes we just need a fine-tuning on some area, and that's why we're there to help you with it through a faith-based perspective. We've been talking about the mind games of the Jezebel narcissist, and we are in that category of feigning ignorance. Last time we talked about the whys of feigning ignorance, but just as a reminder, in feigning ignorance, what would be the definition of that? How do you identify that? And I identify it as the mind game of feigning ignorance is hidden aggression. And I want to stop there for a moment. Using that word aggression doesn't mean they're fighting you. It means they're fighting you on the inside, not on the outside. They're resisting, they're angry. And narcissists, all Jezebel narcissists, are angry on the inside. So feigning ignorance is hidden aggression displayed, not through the normal ways of expressing aggression, but displayed by conning and manipulation. Those manipulative tactics to cast doubts in the mind of the questioner about the legitimacy of the accusations or the questions or the information the questioner is trying to get about something, to clarify something. It doesn't even have to be something terrible or awful, but the Jezebel narcissist is always on that defensive. They're always on guard, prepared for something coming their way. And they are habitual liars. And we're going to be talking about lying the next time. There's a lot to say about lying. And feigning ignorance is a part of lying, but it's a unique part that we need to kind of separate and understand a little bit more because they're very skilled at it. And you never see it coming because it's quick and automatic, and that catches you off guard if you're not expecting it, if you're not anticipating it. If it catches you off guard, then, oh, well, you know, and then they change the subject and off you go in another direction. If you're expecting it and prepared for it, you know it's coming, and then you know to continue in whatever questioning or information you're trying to gather about it. What are the tactics of feigning ignorance? Last time we spoke about why do it. This time, what are the tactics that they use? Changing the subject is often used. That's probably the most often used tactic. So it's diversion or putting a spin on whatever's being said. Changing the subject just as easy. Something comes up and, no, you know, no, I don't remember that. What are you going to do tomorrow? Have you made plans? You know, before you know it, if you're not ready for it, they've just gone away from that, they skirted it, and now you're talking about something else. And you don't get those answers. And then later you think about it and you say, you know, he never answered that, or she never answered that question. I need to remember to ask that again. You know, and then, of course, you forget to ask it again unless something comes up to remind you about it. Another tactic is evasiveness, to blur the facts, to confuse and cast doubts. You know what that is, those half-truths, vagueness. That's really where the politicians do so well, isn't it? When you watch the news and you hear the politicians, they get a question and they give a half-truth, or they're vague about something. And there are some that are really good at it, some that are not so good, and then there are some who are honest and they tell the truth. They're not all bad. Politicians are not all bad. Sort of like used car salesmen, you know, in the old days, they used to make jokes about the used car salesman. There are good ones, there are bad ones, like anywhere else. But the the bad ones. They're that Jezebel narcissist type, and boy, they can confuse an issue, especially if they're intelligent. The smarter they are, the more easily confused they bring about a simple question. They bring, you could ask, well, I wonder how hot it's going to get today. Well, you know, the weather is a strange thing. It never really seems to be the same all the time. And it's interesting, you just never know where it's coming from. What's going on this afternoon? They've confused the issue with whatever they say. Of course, I'm a poor confuser, so that probably could have said something better than what I said, but you get the point. Gosh, when they start doing that, you got to pin them. You've got to narrow the scope of the question to pinpoint what you're trying to get, the information you're trying to get. And they don't want that. They resist that wholeheartedly. It takes skill many times to center them into that place of the answer you need to hear. Playing on sympathy is another tactic. We alluded to that last time when we talked about empathy. Playing on sympathy is just that. Well, you know, I understand you've had a rough life. You know, it's been difficult for you. You know, it can be hard now because of that. They play on that sympathy. They keep bringing up, well, you didn't have the childhood I had, or you didn't have the parents I had, or you didn't have the boss that I have. You know, and that sympathy, if you're an empathizer, if you're a sensitive person and understanding and able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, you identify with that. Suddenly you're feeling it too, and you're going, oh, that's so true. You know, and suddenly the subject is gone. Minimizing, denying, blaming is a tactic. Now, minimizing, denying, and blaming can be a more assertive type of thing, not so much feigning ignorance or innocence, but still it comes together with that pretending to be an innocent person or pretending to not know what you're talking about. And in doing that, it kind of comes out, they start minimizing whatever it is. Oh, you know, that was really nothing. Well, that's no big deal. You know, I'm not even concerned. Well, I never thought about that. You know, or the, you know, denial. No, I didn't. I don't think that way. I don't do those kinds of things. Why would you think I would do those kinds of things? Blaming. Well, you know, you should see your brother. You know, you should think, boy, he does those kinds of things, doesn't he? Yeah. Feigning ignorance through that minimizing, denying, and blaming. Of course, the obvious one is lying, because feigning ignorance is lying. And next time we are going to get into that in more detail about lying. They can't help it. Out it comes. You know, it's automatic to protect themselves. Selective inattention is another tactic that they use. So that's, we might call that filtering. They hear what they want to hear. And oftentimes they only hear half of what you're saying. They hear the half that's in their favor. They hear the half that's to their advantage. And they pretend they didn't hear the other part. And that can get annoying, can't it? Oh, you know, no, I said this. So oftentimes in marital counseling, I'll have the couple do mirroring back and forth for a little while. Tell me what you just heard your partner say, and add a little emotion to it as far as how you think they feel in what they were saying. And then the other one responds with, now, what did you hear? Your partner, did he hear you right? Yeah, he heard me right. Now, what's your response to that? And then back and forth, that mirroring helps to do away with the filtering that often occurs. And sometimes filtering doesn't mean somebody is a Jezebel narcissist. It just means they've learned to do that, or it could mean they have other excuses. For example, perhaps ADHD is involved. They have mild ADHD or more severe ADHD. Well, or they might be extroverted, a sanguine temperament, bubbly, optimistic. They're already thinking about what to do next while you're talking to them. And so they filter, but not intentionally. They're only hearing part of what's being said, and that can be very annoying. So that doesn't mean they're a Jezebel narcissist, but the Jezebel narcissists, they often do that. Rationalizing. Well, I have a good reason for that. I was busy, and when I get busy, all this kind of happens, and it's hard for me to pay attention, and so I don't notice those things. The justification, rationalizing that goes on, they're very good at it, very skilled with it. Playing the victim role is another tactic. It's what they also do as to why feign ignorance, but it's also that tactic that they use to put the spin back on you, and now I'm the victim. It's my fault. It's not my fault that I did this, or it's not my fault that I didn't hear what you asked me to do, or I didn't do it right away because you needed it done right away. I was hurting, Now I have an excuse. I have a bad back, but I'll say, my back was hurting. Now my wife's going to listen to this, and she'll know that I use that as an excuse once in a while. But that's what they do often. And feigning as a victim role, criminals very often do that, don't they? You hear the stories of the inmates, the felons, and so on, and you watch court cases and everything, and they're the victim. And in their minds, they really believe they're the victim. And so they go on the offensive. Oftentimes, that's what gets them in trouble. And they see that they were justified, they were entitled to go on the offensive because they were victimized by you or whoever. In empowering truths about feigning ignorance, I was looking for some scriptures, and I thought, Lord, it's lying, it's all these things, but what do you have to say about this? And how can we look at your word and understand this more? And what do we do about it if we come up against someone who's like that? In Jesus Christ, the Messiah, his blood answers every accusation in the courts of heaven, silencing the accuser. Basically, what that's saying is, and those are my words in talking about several scriptures that I have listed there, but what that's saying is, you don't always have to put up a defense. You don't always have to prove you're right and they're wrong. And they don't either. Those accusations, whether they're true or not, that someone may present to you, God knows the truth. And that's what counts. My relationship with God is the most important thing. And because I know He knows, if I'm feigning ignorance, He knows I'm not getting away with it. If I'm acting innocent, He knows I'm acting, I'm pretending. I'm not getting away with it. So the other person doesn't have to prove the Jezebel narcissist is wrong. They don't have to catch them in a lie. Plant the seeds, speak the truth, and know that God knows, and inevitably God judges. Either now in this life or in the future, God will take care of it, especially if you're wronged. And very often, I see things happening to these individuals, these Jezebel narcissists along the way in their lives. And I can see, what goes around comes around. They're getting what they dished out. Now it's happening to them. And there's greater consequences occurring to them as a result of it. In Jesus Christ the Messiah, the Holy Spirit explicitly declares, don't pay attention to deceivers, for they're imposters. Don't pay attention to those people that are feigning ignorance, those people that are hypocritical, I guess is a common word. Nah, they're not worth it. Yeah. Let them live in their fantasy world, in their fantasy life. Sometimes for safety, legal reasons, perhaps you have to let someone go at work because they're doing things that could get you in trouble or the company in trouble, or lose customers, and so you have to do something in that regard, but you don't have to be a monster about it and proving how bad they are or how awful they are or how they're lying. This is the facts. Speak the facts, speak the truth. Well, this is the way it is. In relationship, it's the same way. This is the way it is. When you act this way and you pretend you didn't hear me when I know good and well you heard me, it upsets me. It makes me feel like I have no value in your mind. It makes me feel worthless in this relationship. And it's very uncomfortable. And I'm disappointed and I'm sad. And walk away. Don't stand there for an argument, because they'll give you an argument eventually. They'll twist it and turn it and then make you feel bad because you raised your voice or you said something you shouldn't have said. Walk away. Now that's the tactics we use with our kids when we're parenting, isn't it? Because kids do all of this. That's part of their developing and their growing and learning and experiencing. They do all these things. Wow, that Jezebel narcissist is like a kid. They're doing these things, it's like they never grew up. They're emotionally immature. And they're using these tactics that they never grew out of. Well, what does the scripture say in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 and 2, with what I was speaking of earlier? It says this, and this is from the Amplified version of the Bible. But the Holy Spirit explicitly and unmistakably declares that in later times some will turn away from faith, paying attention instead to deceitful and seductive spirits. Now, pause there a minute. Deceitful, lying, seductive, enticing you, encouraging you to do wrong, or drawing you into a trap, seductive spirits and doctrines of demons, misled by the hypocrisy of liars. Now, I'm going to back up for a moment because I use the word demons in this scripture. Some people don't believe in demons. That's up to you. That's your choice. Whether you believe in demons or not, the demon also represents something. It represents something that's not good, something that's bad, something that causes problems for you and for others. So look at it that way if you don't want to believe in demons. I believe in them. I believe in good and evil. I believe in God and Satan, Lucifer. And you have a lot of people out there nowadays with the things going on in the world who are Luciferians. In high places, they worship Lucifer and they see him as the victim because that's how he presents himself, the victim. Gosh, that just fits right into that Jezebel narcissism, doesn't it? Well, misled by the hypocrisy of liars whose consciences are seared as with a branding iron, leaving them incapable of ethical functioning. Habitual liars, those who habitually feign ignorance, they've branded their consciences, they've seared their consciences, as the scripture says, to that point that they don't feel guilt anymore. They don't feel remorse anymore. It makes it easier for them to be that way. makes it harder for someone who is, let's say, a good person, who is honest, who strives to do the right thing, to even believe someone would be that way. Oh, I can't imagine that. And that causes them to be seduced by that seducing spirit, or sucked into that trap, which may be a marriage, may be a relationship, may be a job or something else, sucked into that trap by that belief that I have a conscience, I would never think of doing something like that. I'm sure he's not doing it, or she's not doing it, or I'm sure there's not an ulterior motive. I can't imagine someone doing that. Well, people do that, and more of them showing up nowadays, especially with this Jezebel narcissism that we've been talking about with all of these episodes and all these parts in these episodes that we have discussed. I hope Feigning Ignorance has become a little more understandable for you. I hope you'll be better able to recognize these things that we've been talking about in the future, in your future relationships, or in relationships you may be having now, whether it's work or home or any other type of relationships. If you recognize these things early, you're able to stand against them so that they don't impair your happiness and the rest of your life. If you got something out of this today, please press the like button and press the bell if you'd like to be notified of future episodes as they come out. Next time we're going to be talking about lying, and that's going to be very interesting, and I hope you'll find it helpful as we get into that subject regarding the Jezebel narcissist. God bless.